Well, greetings and
Hello.
salutations, everybody. Welcome to a spicy, hot, brand new rendition of the Anthony Around Town show. I don't know why I just described it as spicy hot, but it is, and I like it. I'm here for it. If you're just joining us, you have no idea what's going on right now. Well, first off, hello. Second off, this is the best darn talk show in Elko, Nevada. This is where we, as a couple of bros, hop online and talk about some awesome people and events and things going on in our community as a community, as members and neighbors and friends with all of you watching out there in the digital world. So if you're watching this live, thank you so much for making us a part of your Monday night. If you're watching this later throughout the week, hello. I hope the future is treating you well. I hope the weather is getting nice and warm. I hope you're getting your tax refund and spending it on cool stuff. I hope you're filling out your brackets for March Madness and your teams are all going to win and you're going to win a lot of money. I hope that souffle recipe you're going to try on Saturday turns out well. I hope that your kid gets over his or her cold that she's had the last couple of days so you can get back to your routine. I hope that your car stops making that funny noise it made this morning on the way to dropping your kids off to school. All that stuff, I hope, because again, we're all friends here and we're all just having a good time. So I don't know if I said this or not, but I'm Anthony Crosby, and joining me to my left, probably your right on the camera, is Mr. Cameraman Matthew Rom. Matthew, how are you doing this week?
I'm doing pretty well. Just same as always. I think every Monday I say that I just doing my day-to-days, enjoying what I can enjoy and trying not to stress over the things that shouldn't be stressed over about. So
do you have anything going on in life that you feel comfortable sharing that would fall under things that you might be stressing about?
I wouldn't say so much stressing about, but I've been super sore because I've been going to the gym a lot.
Well, that's a good thing.
It is a good thing, but I mean, it's sore, you know.
You got
it was super.
You're trying to get that peach butt.
Freezing to this morning. It was super, super cold. Our pilot light just blew out.
Shoot!
Like last night, I'm guessing.
Dang.
So waking up, it was really, really cold.
I cannot do it.
Yeah, we got up, we did it. It was a successful day. So pretty stoked.
That's awesome.
Made it through. So yeah.
Because I feel like no matter how good life's going, you're always gonna have those little random stresses that are just like in your head stresses. Like me, maybe I shared this on the show a couple weeks ago. But I got a flat tire on my van the other week.
Yeah.
Maybe I shared about that. And so now every time I get out of my car from driving down the road, I always look at my tire to see, or every time I hear one noise, I'm like, oh, that's it. A screw just went through my tire again. And so in the morning, I'll go out to go defrost my windows and get the car warmed up for the day. And I'll always look at the tires first and just be stressed out thinking they're just going to be flat. So even though it's probably not going to happen, I got brand new tires. Everything's fine. People don't run over nails every single day. It happens, but it's not like an everyday thing. But you just still have that little bit of anxiety in you from time to time. So you just got to deal with it. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah, I have tire PTSD. But hopefully you all are doing well out there. Hopefully you don't have PTSD or any other what is acronyms? No, that's not an acronym. Yeah, it's an acronym. Any other form of letters that are just not bad. We just hope that you don't have. Hopefully you have the good letters. Hopefully you have what's a good kind of put together.
I don't know, man.
I don't know. I can only think of bad ones right now that I will say.
Hopefully you have a TGIF.
Yeah.
Every day.
Hopefully, not only
not just Friday.
I like that. Hopefully, you have a good
day.
TGIF. I like that. And if you did, and you want to share how things are going with you, or if you want to be a part of tonight's conversation, you want to yell at us for something, you want to just speak your mind on something, you want to ask a question about something, this is part of why we do this live every week, is so that your voice can be heard. So just make sure you use that live chat down below, and periodically I'll do like this, which is me looking over to my computer to see if we have anybody popping up in the live chat. But yeah, just feel free to join in. Don't feel like you're interrupting us. We really don't have that much insightful stuff to say anyways. It's not that spectacular, so please feel free to interrupt us at any moment. But anything else going on with you before we get rocking and rolling? Because tonight's going to be a little more chatty, a little bit more casual in our discussion, so just want to see what's going on.
Just hanging out. What about you, man? How you doing?
I've been pretty good, actually. I didn't even share how my weekend was. It was a good weekend. I spent a lot of time with friends, out and about. Let's see, what else have I been up to? Really just that. I was actually talking to Justin, who owns NV Off-Road. We'll talk about them in a second. But when I came in here to start setting up for the show, I was talking to Justin, the owner, and we were talking about our weekends. And we're talking about the double-edged sword that is a fun and active weekend, because like me, every single day in the weekend I had friends and I was going out and I was doing all this and that, and it was awesome, it was fun, it was exciting, it was social, it got me out there, it was sweet, met some new people, it was awesome. But when you just go and you're having so much fun, you close your eyes Friday night and then you open them and it's Sunday night and it's Monday all over again. You're like, oh my gosh, there's my whole weekend. So like there are weekends where you're just like, no, I want this weekend to drag because I don't want Monday to come in a blink of an eye. So I'm just going to sit in my house and watch Netflix for, the next 12 hours and just ride it out. There's some weekends that's good, but then, you might be missing out on some good social hangs. So it's an interesting paradox that a busy weekend creates, because I literally feel like my weekend went by in a flash.
This is insane, but I get it.
Maybe that's why you're supposed to have like a Saturday full of stuff and Sunday you're supposed to just chill, so you get a little bit of both. But whatever, that's me. Like I said, I hope you guys have just had a good time. We're going to get right into the meat of this night's stream in just a moment. But before we do, we have a couple awesome people to thank. And the first person we want to thank again is Justin, who I just brought up. He is the owner of NV Off-Road. NV Off-Road, located at 1430 Stitzel Road, Suite A. That's 1430 Stitzel Road, Suite A. We got to give some love to NV Off-Road because they help make this stream possible. They help make our podcast possible because they provide us the recording and producing space that we're currently in right now. So if we didn't have NV Off-Road, we'd probably be doing this out in the cold somewhere or in my kitchen, which is just equally bad as doing it somewhere out in the cold. So because we have our friends at NV Off-Road backing us up, we're able to provide you with the content that hopefully you've come to enjoy from Anthony around town. Just a little bit about NV Off-Road. If you have a power sports vehicle, so we're talking ATV, motorbike, what's another power sports vehicle, Matthew? Quad, snowmobile, side-by-side, all that's good stuff, and you just want it taken care of the right way, then you just come see Justin over here at NV Off-Road, again, 1430 Stitzel Road, Suite A. They definitely know what they're doing. There'll be times when I'm coming in, getting ready to work here at the studio, and I'll just hear Justin be spouting out knowledge about this part, and this will works best with this, and this is where I would recommend taking this ride, and he knows his stuff. So just come in, say what's up, and then, of course, if you do, let him know that Anthony around town sent you. The next business we want to give some love to is the Remax Gold Jesse James team, because Jesse James and her team financially sponsor Anthony around town every single week. So we just got to make sure we tell you guys how awesome they are, not just because they're our financial sponsors, or one of them at least, but because Jesse really is legit. I promise you guys I would not partner up with anybody. I wouldn't bring anybody in front of you here at AAT if I didn't think they were legit. So I can rest assure you that Jesse is somebody who falls under that category, her and her entire team. Matthew, you like trivia questions. So let me ask you this. Based on a 25-second Google search I did about a half an hour ago on one random realtor site, guess how many homes in the Elko area are currently for sale right now? Maybe we'll do over under. We'll do over under. You give me a number and I'll tell you over under.
All right, that sounds easier.
Okay.
500.
Under.
Under?
Yeah.
So does that cut that in half? Is it 250?
Ooh, a little bit over.
A little bit. So that's a little bit.
A little bit. Barely over.
Well, I need to go over. Right?
Yes, you need to go over by a little bit.
Right. So then 277.
Oh, go up by like 11.
Oh, 288?
288, yes.
Hey.
288 homes, according to this quick Google search in the Elko area. I don't know if that's right. That could be total BS. I don't know. But for the sake of this promo, we're saying it's correct. 288 homes that you could choose from. That could be your next dream house, your next forever home, your next place where you raise your kids, and all that sort of good stuff. So, to make sure you know which one of those 288 homes is right for you, you just need somebody on your side with the skill and the passion and the expertise and the relatability to help walk you through it all. And that is definitely Jessie James and her team over at Remax Gold. So what you need to do is just go give her a call, 775-777-5220. That's 775-777-5220, or go visit her at 940 Idaho Street and just start picking her brain. And of course, when you do, let her know that your friends and Anthony around town sent you. All right. So normally what we do every single week on this live stream, if you're new to it, is we just like to take the content that came out the week prior on the Anthony Around Town website, anthonyaroundtown.com, and we just like to talk about it a little bit. Just kind of expand on the conversation that may have came from a video or a blog or a podcast. Maybe talk about some stuff that was cut out for time or just for structure reasons, and just have some fun as a community discussing these things that relate to our area. We actually only had a couple new pieces of content come out last week. We had a blog come out that we'll talk about in a second, but Matthew, you should talk a little bit, because one of the new items that came out last week was your podcast. So in a nutshell, why don't you sum up how that whole thing was and anything we need to know about your time on the Anthony Around Town podcast?
So it was, once again, it was pretty fun. We went over some out there questions that were really out there. But it was a blast. And, that's kind of the whole reason why we do stuff like that, is to have fun, getting to know people. And so, I mean, I've been on here like 3 or 4 times, so hopefully you guys know me, at least know of me. But one of the cool things that we actually got to kind of do, we announced it.
Oh, I forgot to talk about this. Yeah.
So we announced it on the podcast initially. So if you got to hear that, you kind of even got a little leg up on everybody else. But we're starting out a Patreon. So that's going to be a cool way for you guys to kind of help push forward and support the mission of Anthony Around Town. So keep your eyes open, keep your ears open to see what's going on with that. But
totally. Yeah. We'll be explaining more about what Patreon is if you're not sure what that is. Matthew we shot a video with Matthew last week where he kind of breaks it down. We'll put that out soon. But yeah, basically, like I said, just giving you all who are just big supporters and fans of what we do here a chance to make this happen. Obviously, a big way that we keep going every week is through our sponsors. That's why we give them so much love. But we know that not everybody can afford to be a sponsor or has a desire to be a sponsor, but you still want to support somehow. So this Patreon page is going to be your way to do that. So be on the lookout for that soon.
Yes.
All right. So Matthew's podcast came out last Thursday. You can go listen to that on any platform where you currently get your podcast from. So Spotify, iTunes, Google, all that sort of good stuff. But over on our page, we had a blog come out, and our guest was Nancy Osler. And you can go read this on the page if you didn't have a chance to check it out. But it was a really good conversation I had with Nancy. She's actually somebody I've wanted to talk to for a few weeks, because to kind of sum up her blog, she used to work, well, before it was Newmont, before the merger. Now it's Nevada Gold Mines. She worked for Newmont, and she oversaw their legacy fund program.
Oh, okay.
So for those of you who don't know, you can get a chance to read it. Basically, Legacy Fund was a way for employees of Newmont to give back to nonprofit organizations.
Yeah.
So say Matthew had a nonprofit where he got to raise puppies and take care of puppies every single day. Matthew's Puppy House.
Me and Elizabeth are gonna start doing cats.
Oh, so close. Okay, Matthew and Elizabeth's House of Cats. That was their nonprofit.
Yes.
And I worked for Newmont. I could tell Nancy and her team that, hey, I want to donate $50 out of my paycheck to Matthew and Elizabeth's House of Cats. And not only would that donation be there through me, but Newmont would match my donation. So Matthew and Elizabeth's House of Cats would get $100 because I would chip in 50 and Newmont would chip in 50. So it was a great way for nonprofits in our area to just continue doing all the cool stuff, whether it's religious organizations like churches or parachurch organizations, or just traditional nonprofits and all that. It was just a great way for our community to support them. So she oversaw that for a while. Through the transition with Newmont and Barrick merging and becoming Nevada Gold Mines and all that, Nancy's no longer with them and with that position. So we just talked a lot about what she's doing right now.
Yeah.
And she actually started a nonprofit of her own. I should have wrote it down before we started. But basically, you can go on the blog and read the name. I just don't want to tell you the wrong name. But basically what it is super cool. Yeah. She and her son, who's a worship leader, I think Calvary Baptist, I believe. Oh, nice. But they just go around to different churches or schools and all that sort of good stuff. And they take the top 20 most popular worship songs out there. Yeah. And they sing those songs and they get the kids exposed to those worship songs. And then they kind of break down where in the Bible we see those worship songs and those ideas for those songs come from. And then through that, what she's really trying to do is just empower the kids and encourage them and strengthen their identity and let them know that they're loved and let them know that there's so much more than the chaos that the world has to say, especially when you're a teenager, because you're trying to figure out who you are, and you got social media, and you got your parents, and you got teachers, and you got TV, and you got your friends, and all these things screaming at you to kind of form you and shape you, especially as you're coming out of childhood and you're going into adulthood. What Nancy does through her nonprofit, she just helps make sure kids know that they're loved throughout all that time, because it's tough being a teenager. So Matthew, well, I'll just say this: it was really nice talking to Nancy because she just had such a really refreshing attitude about her situation. Because sometimes, and I wrote this in the blog, when you go through life transitions, so say you had a job and you no longer had that job, or you were in a relationship that you expected to last forever, you're not in that relationship. Heck, even if it's something small, like you had a car that you really liked and one day your car just stops working, whatever it is, it can be tough to kind of deal with those changes and deal with those parts of our life, because especially like big stuff like relationships and jobs and finances, I think a lot of times not only do we just sometimes overly depend on those things for our security, but sometimes those things just become a part of our identity. So like, say I had even this, let's just say this, Anthony Around Town. So like if one day just the community was just like, nah, Anthony, we're over Anthony Around Town, we don't want to read it, we don't want to watch your stuff, we don't want to support it, I would have a real choice. I would say, okay, guess this is just, as Nancy put it, just the next part of my adventure. I guess I just want to see what's next for me. Or would I respond just with like true like depression and anger and bitterness because my identity is being a content creator for Anthony Around Town and nothing else? And so if you take that away from me, I don't know who I am, and I don't know what I'm supposed to do, and I don't know who I'm supposed to be, and all this stuff. And obviously there's a middle road between there. Like, it is a bummer when those things happen. Nobody loves having something they expected to always be there disappear the next day. But still, you guys get what I'm saying. You get what I'm saying. There's this attitude we can choose to have. So you hear all that. What's your thoughts on that whole thing?
I agree. It doesn't necessarily have to be something like church related or anything like that. It's just us as people, as human beings and stuff. we build up attachments, sentiments, and stuff like that, whether it's to our friends and families, to our relationships, significant others, all of that good stuff. It's good, but we build up sentiments, and sometimes when those things just disappear, whether it's all of a sudden or if it was something that's building up, it's still something that kind of it hurts to just have that taken away. It's
Mm-hmm.
like having being like a little child and like you get a stuffed animal or a blanket or something that you really like, you find comfort in. It's there, so it's in your comfort and that it's not going to go away, and then something happens and poof, it's gone. uh it's just hard to cope with not having that thing anymore.
Right.
But I think just the way you're explaining it, Nancy has a really good
Mm-hmm.
outlook on it, that whether it's your job or anything, instead of focusing and dwelling and kind of living in that past and letting that kind of control you, and there are definitely going to be those days where, like you were saying, we slip into depression or we get super angry or something, because those do happen, and those are very real feelings and everything. I've definitely been there myself, but instead of letting that control you, it's really, and it takes work, but just doing your best to change your outlook, doing your
Mm-hmm.
best to kind of see it the way that you said she had described it, as the next adventure in your
Yeah.
life, right? Something where it was fun while I had it, but now I get to do this, right? Now I get to look forward to doing this, or now I get to grow as a person, just by entering in that next chapter of your life. And so,
Totally. Because I
such a
think
deep
one of my
topic.
favorite
Oof.
parts of it is a big topic, and so it might be a good thing we really only have one blog to talk about today, because this
Oh
is a
no.
big one, and we'll probably spend most of this time talking about this. But actually, one of my favorite parts about life in general is, how do I put this? The fact that we don't fully see the big picture, if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah.
we could see like one door ahead of us sometimes, but we don't really
Yeah.
know where that one door is going to lead and what
Mm.
happens, 2 or 3 doors down from now. Because again, we try, and
Yeah.
it's good. I'm not saying like it's bad to like have a plan about what could be behind that door and prepare for things, and have all your ducks in a row. That's
Mm.
awesome. We should do
Yeah.
that.
It's good.
However,
Life happens.
life happens, so you just never know, good or bad, what tomorrow truly. That's the one thing about life, is like everybody can have their predictions, but nobody truly knows what's going to happen tomorrow.
Mm.
We wake up expecting, like tomorrow I'm waking up expecting to go shoot a video, and then I need to finish a blog, and then I need to go do an
Yeah.
interview for another blog, and then I need to go pick up my kids from school, and then we need to do homework, and we need to get dinner, and we need to have bath time, we need to go to bed. That's my in my head plan for my day
Yeah.
tomorrow. However, I just don't know. Something, I could get another flat tire and miss
Mm.
my interview. I could wake up sick and not be able to get out of bed and do anything. I could, whatever. So you just never know. But the thing with not knowing is sometimes we go through things that are tough, that seem like the end of the road, that seem like a real roadblock, that seem like just an insurmountable hardship, that we just don't know how we're just going to move on. Maybe it is something big like the loss of a job or relationship or health or something like that. But sometimes some cool stuff can come from, as I put in the title of the stream, some crappy situations.
Yeah.
Even though we may not see it as that in the moment, because it's tough in the moment, it hurts in the moment, and it's confusing in the moment. Maybe a couple steps later, because that crappy situation took place, a cool door a couple steps
Mm.
further was being able to be opened, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
what I just wanted to do
Good stuff.
is just share a couple stories in my life where that happened,
Mm.
where I was in just a crazy situation, but because of that crazy situation, that opened the doors for some cool experiences in the future. And then we'll do another ad read, and then we'll see if Matthew has an example or two.
Right.
So one for mine that comes straight to back off the mind was when I was 21. I still drive a minivan now. It's a cool white dad minivan. But even way before I had kids, I was still rocking a minivan. It was a forest green, this bad minivan, cruising around the streets of Reno in this thing. And
How you do it?
it was actually a few months before I came to Elko. And this, keep that in mind because that plays into the story. I actually was coming back from like a frozen yogurt date in Reno. I met a girl for frozen yogurt, and I was on my way home, maybe to get ready for work or something like that. And there's traffic, and there's cars a bunch of places, but I was just driving normal. It wasn't that big of a deal. And I like looked over at like one of the casino buildings, and then I looked in front of me, and traffic just like grind to a halt. Like it was just at a standstill. So I had to put on my brakes a good amount, but I was good. I was coasting. I wasn't going to hit the car in front of me. I was fine. But the car behind me had to do the same thing, but they weren't so quick. And so when they put on their brakes, they didn't have enough space. And so they hit me behind and pushed me into the car in front of me and essentially made an Anthony minivan sandwich between their two vehicles and with me in the middle. And totaled the car. It was a whole big thing. I wasn't hurt. I think my wrist was like a little sore, but it wasn't anything totally, life threatening. So I just remember going home. Sitting on my couch and be like, wow, now what am I supposed to do? I don't have a car. I didn't live with my parents. They lived in Reno. I lived, if you know anything about the area, I lived way out in Sparks. So, and my job was downtown Reno. So it's not like here, like if I didn't have a car here in Elko, like I could just walk to most of the places or ride a bike. But in Reno, it's bigger. So I was like, I don't know what to do. Like, why did this have to happen? Blah, blah, blah. Just really getting down on myself. I had just finished school. Was just trying to figure out summer and what the next steps for my life was and all that stuff. Didn't know. But fast forward a few months when I knew I was supposed to go to Elko, was right around the time I actually got some insurance money from that car accident. And I was able to use that insurance money to finance me moving out here to Elko for a little bit. And I looking back now, I don't think I would have maybe been able to afford right away at the instant that I moved out here and the speed that I moved out here if I hadn't gotten that insurance money. So in the moment, I had no idea why I got in that wreck. But now I'm like, wow, something cool came out of that car accident. I moved to Elko, and now I get to be here with you guys, and it's just who knows. So anyways, that was pretty cool. That's something to look back at. That was my adventure. And then I have one more, and that was like right around when I was starting Anthony Around Town. It's the summer that I was starting Anthony Around Town. A lot of stuff happened that summer, a lot of crazy stuff. It's the summer of, 2017 maybe? 2018? 2018, I think. Anyways, it was a crazy summer, but one big thing that happened that summer was I got a bad infection in my right arm to the point I had a big abscess under my arm, and which is like a big old lump, and I couldn't even move my arm down below a chicken wing because it was so much pain, and the lump was like a Snickers bar size. It was horrible. And I don't want to go into too many details because I don't know if I can. But essentially, I went to a place here in town, and they should have treated it in one way. They didn't treat it the way that they probably should have, or at least the person who was there at the time. Person's not there anymore. But the person who was there at this location at the time could have treated things better, and it's actually made the whole situation worse to where I ended up in the hospital for about 3 or 4 days and had to go to wound, kind of like physical therapy. You have to do that for a while after you get out of the hospital, but I had to do that for like wound care because I had like a giant hole in my arm, because once I finally got all the infection and the crap out of my arm after being in the hospital, there's like a big crevice, like a cave in my arm. So I had to go see this guy several times a week and make sure the hole in my arm wasn't getting more infected. And I had to carry around this purse looking thing that attached into my arm that would occasionally suck out all the nasty stuff. I had to do that for like a month. It was horrible month. Probably one of the worst summers of my whole life, because I had a bunch of other stuff going on around that time too. But at that time, I knew I wanted. I mean, this is right around the time we started talking about this whole Anthony Around Town thing. Like, this is just conceptual time, and But I had a feeling this is what I was supposed to do, at least to get started. I didn't know it was going to turn into all this, but I knew like
Right.
something was going to come from it. But I just didn't know how. I just had a feeling. So, anyways, fast forward a couple of months, because of everything that happened with that one location and some mistreatment here and there, I was actually able to receive an insurance check that was actually able to financially put me in a position where I could take some chances with Anthony around town, and I could make up some bills from when I was sick and all that sort of good
Mhm.
stuff. And like, who knew, like, maybe a big part of why we're here today and the relationships and the chances that I was able to take and the stuff I was able to invest in was
Right.
all because I got sick in the arm. So those are just a couple of examples of my life of times where, like, in the moment when I was sitting in my house in Sparks, carless, got into a car accident, and I was sitting in northeastern Nevada hospital with,
Yep.
a giant hole in my arm. Both at those times in the moment, I was like, why is this happening? What's going on? But as Nancy said, you just keep trekking along and you just get to see what the next part of your adventure is. And for me, it turned out pretty well. So
Mhm.
those are just a couple examples of my life. We'll see if Matthew has any examples from his life in a second. But before we do, we want to give some love. Oops, wrong one. Give some love to another one of our sponsors, and that is our good friend Elise O'Brien over at Heartwood Wellness. I don't know if you guys have known. I've been sharing them here on our Facebook page. If you're watching this live stream on our Facebook page, but every week Anthony around town, because Elise is a sponsor. We've been helping her make some videos for her Facebook page and kind of just inform people a little bit about what she exactly does through her business and Ayurvedic counseling and all that sort of fun stuff. So actually, if you go over to her Facebook page, you'll see a few videos from us. The first video is just kind of introductory, and then she has 3 specific videos talking about what's called the doshas, which are biological patterns of energy that people have within inside them, called Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. And everybody has these different types of energy within them. But when one of those different types of doshas, the Vata, Pitta, or Kapha, is more dominant, that kind of describes a little bit more about who you are, depending on which one is the most dominant in you. So what Elise does is she breaks down what exactly this means, what exactly somebody who's dominant in Vata looks like, responds to, things that they can apply in their life to kind of live a healthier lifestyle, all this sort of good stuff. So if you're interested in stuff like that, I know it's not for everybody, and it might take some a better understanding than I'm doing right now to kind of grasp exactly what it is she does. But in a sense, Elise is all about helping people feel their best
Mhm.
mentally, spiritually, physically, all that sort of good stuff. And so she does a really good job of kind of breaking down some ways of thinking when it comes to healing and wellness. And so maybe you're just in that season of life where you could just use a little bit of guidance and some
Mhm.
information that maybe you didn't know was out there. Then I highly recommend you just go check out her Facebook page. Just search Elise O'Brien Heartwood Ayurvedic Counseling. I know that's a lot, but if you just put Elise O'Brien Heartwood, it should come up. Or just scroll down on our Facebook page, you'll see one of the videos that I shared. So that's Elise O'Brien over at Heartwood Wellness Ayurvedic Counseling. All right, Matthew. So you heard a couple of my stories. Is there
Mhm.
anything that comes to mind when it comes to this whole concept of crappy situations turning into cool experiences?
Yeah, I definitely. So there's kind of two things that I want to break down. I want to break down one experience I've had, and I kind of want to break down a different, like a kind of a concept. Um,
Okay.
so let's start off with like my experience. Honestly, would probably be I would go back the most, like, not most prominent, but the one that I can think of, because I've been thinking about this all day. But
Hmm.
I think one major one for me
Okay.
would be way back when I was 16, 17 years old. I had I just had a freak out. Teenagers do that kind of stuff. We were talking about it earlier,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
But I definitely wasn't feeling good, and it was enough to get me thinking. 16, 17-year-old me, what, like, something's not right, I need to change, right? Something in, whether it was who I was, whether it was what I was doing, something about Matthew needs to change, or else my life isn't gonna, it's not gonna work out anywhere near where I want it to work out.
Hmm.
So I ended up, having kind of my blow up and stuff, and then coming to that revelation, uh, after all was said and done, and really just kind of thinking, okay, well, what can I do to make those changes? What can I, like, what needs to happen? And so from there, I ended up getting kind of some recommendations from some friends of mine, from just different things to look at. And those two recommendations was, where can I go to church?
Mm.
That's when I actually got my recommendation to go to Living Stones. And then where can I go to kind of get into a good community for teens, something where it's
Mm-hmm.
fun, but something where I can kind of branch out and be able to be in community, so that way I can get good feedback, and I could have people kind of be there for me. And that was where I got the recommendation to go to Young Life. And fast forward, that's where I met Anthony at both places. I met some good friends that I'll still see him on Facebook. I'm like, oh, I wonder how that person's doing. Met them at Young Life. I ended up meeting some really major mentors in my life through just those two different outlets. And so, to come to think of it,
Mm.
if I'd never had that meltdown in my life, if I never came to that revelation of, okay, right now I need to change, then, I might not have been there for the year or two that you had led Young Life, or
Interesting.
I might have gotten somebody else's opinion and going to a different place to go find, what I was looking for. And so, that was just kind of a really major one that, I can kind of trace back and see, okay, that's how that played a major part of my life. Um, and then that second part that I want to talk about isn't so much an experience that happened, more so as a collective of a bunch of people that I'd honestly just really like to thank. Because
Okay.
there's definitely been a few times, more than a few. There's been tons and tons of times where Matthew being Matthew, and for whatever reason, I am having a meltdown, or I'm feeling hurt or offended, or I'm feeling angry at something, and I'm losing kind of control of my emotions and stuff, and I end up taking that out on other people.
Mm.
And it's not good, and it's definitely something from being a teen and to growing up into a young adult that I've put a lot of work and effort into changing, but it still happens. I'm not gonna lie, I still have my days where, whether it's just or not, that, I blow up on somebody. And so, I have a bunch of people who I'm really thankful for, Anthony being one of them, where I can kind of, I'm able to go to these people and go, hey, I'm sorry that, this, I had done something, or that I reacted or acted in this way. Um, and that I have these people that are kind of, they help me to be able to go to them and find forgiveness in them and stuff. And
Nice.
so it's kind of this concept of, I have people that, you know, there might be a crappy situation, or a messy, like, scenario or something going on, but at the end of the day, I can kind of, I can take a step back, take a breather, and go, okay, it'll be fine. These people, they're the blessings that, they can help me work through these crappy things,
Mm.
and that I can find, really, good, healthy blessings
That's awesome.
through those people. And so there's quite a few of them that I just definitely, like, I really appreciate those guys, and so
Sweet.
that's something. It doesn't necessarily have to be an experience
Sure.
that
That's a
helps
good point.
you
That's a good
lead
point.
into your the next chapter of your life. You can also find that through through good community,
That's right.
and so
I like it. Good word. So we just want to thank Nancy again for sitting down with
yeah.
us and kind of giving us the whole blog that came out last week that kind of sparked this whole conversation. And like I said, mostly just thankful for her and for her attitude towards just the adventure that she's on, because I just want to reiterate, whatever adventure that you're on, maybe you're going through a new season of life, maybe you lost a job and have to start a new job, or maybe you were in a relationship and you have to kind of deal with that and press forward and maybe start a brand new relationship. Maybe not even like romantic relationship. Maybe you just had somebody in your life who was there for a long time, and maybe through passing away or just moving away or whatever, just things in life, as you just said, life happens. Life just changes. Life isn't always just the constant that we'd like it to be sometimes. So whatever adventure that you were on, we just want you to know that your bros here at Anthony Around Town, we have your back. We just support you. Just hope that whatever it is that you're going through, that we care, and we just wish you the best. And then ultimately, we hope that through it all, whether it's next week, next month, next year, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, you're able to look back at the adventure that you had to go through and see all the positive things that came from it. And we all have an attitude like Nancy. Elaine Castle says, good show. Thank you so much, Elaine. We appreciate you. It was a good discussion. It was a deep discussion. There's a lot of stuff to think about, but I think it can encourage a lot of people, and it's definitely encouraged me throughout today as I've been thinking about it. Elaine says there's always raw life adventures around us, around each corner. Or that's it, around each corner. That's how life goes, is that we just never know what's around the corner unless you have a show note script right here that tells you what's coming up next. And so in this instance, we do know what's around this corner of our conversation. It's transitioning to tell you that we have new content coming out from Anthony Around Town this week. We have a new blog coming out on Wednesday. How can I tease Wednesday's blog? It is, I was going to say it's not a load of bull, but it actually kind of is a load of bull. So I'll kind of just say that. And then Friday, we have a blog coming out on Friday, but I haven't done that interview yet, so I don't know how to exactly tease that. But just check us out Friday and Wednesdays for new written content. And then
I was there and I don't get that teaser.
No, the blog. You weren't there when
the
blog.
Okay.
What you're
My
referring
bad.
to is the podcast coming out on Thursday, because you were there. You're like, Anthony, why was Matthew at your podcast recording when we just talked about the fact that his podcast came out last week? Why were you there? Well, I think we just need to play the trailer for this week's podcast, and the people can find out for themselves. So let's do that right now. All right, so it's time where we get to meet this week's spectacular guest, Miss Elizabeth Arzola. How are you doing this week, Elizabeth?
Oh, I'm pretty good. How are you?
I feel awesome. Not only are you just an awesome member of our community, and we'll talk a little bit about why in just a few moments, you are the lovely girlfriend of cameraman Matthew.
So, I come from a really big family. I am the oldest out of 10 siblings. I'm a very hard worker. I work at the Walmart pharmacy as a pharmacy technician.
Wait, did you say you're the oldest out of 10 siblings?
Yeah.
In your expert medical opinion, the coronavirus, is it going to wipe us all out? Now we're going to get to know a little bit about you both, because as I mentioned before, you each had a list of 4 questions about each other, and hopefully you answered those questions correctly. If not, I am sorry if I bring up issues within this relationship. Now, it's not my intent, but it's going to make an entertaining podcast. If your partner had one day left to live, what would they do? What's one thing I could do right now to make your partner feel the most annoyed? Elizabeth, you heard his response. Did Matthew nail it or did he fail it?
He nailed it.
If your partner could eat only a chicken sandwich from one place for the rest of Matthew's case, his life, where would he be eating this chicken sandwich from?
That's a fail.
That's a fail. We have the
He's
first
failed.
failed it of the podcast.
I already knew it. So he failed that one.
Oh my gosh. So that's right. The guest this week on the Anthony Around Town podcast is none other than Elizabeth, the person we keep talking about on this live stream because she is Matthew's lovely girlfriend. She's more than that. Don't come at me with like, oh, she has more of an identity than just being someone's girlfriend. We know she does a lot, and you'll hear it in the podcast. We talk about her work at the pharmacy. We talk about her history, her family. 10 siblings. That's crazy. We talk about that. But for the sake of relating her to you all, she's the girl who puts up with him every single week.
Yeah.
So you saw some tease of it in the trailer, but basically the big wacky time that we have in the podcast is spent doing a little couples question challenge where I just gave them both the same question and they just had to answer about the other person. Sometimes they did pretty good, and the response they got, the person was like, yeah, that's right. And then you saw towards the end of that trailer, sometimes they didn't do so well. So Matthew, first we need to know, because I haven't really talked to you much since we shot that video and recorded that podcast. Is everything okay with you and Elizabeth? Did I cause a rift in paradise? Is everything good?
I had to sleep on the couch.
Oh, uh-oh.
No, I didn't. She actually took it really well.
Yeah, she's a good guest.
It was always fun. I think one of the biggest reasons why it was so cool for me was that I got to invite her into something that I find enjoyment in doing. A big part of my life. I come on here every week. I got to invite her into that a little bit, and so it wasn't something where I'm always thankful that she's supportive. She watches it every week.
Yep.
She always supports it. But I'm glad that I also got to kind of bring her into it as well. And so it was awesome. It was fun. We had a fun time. There were no fights, so that's good.
Yes.
It was just overall a really fun time. So.
Yeah. So if you want to learn more about Elizabeth and just again get to know another one of your neighbors in a fun out there way, then just be ready for the new episode of the podcast coming out this Thursday, again wherever you get your podcasts on a weekly basis. All right, guys, as we look to round out this episode of the Anthony Around Town podcast, I just want to let you know, well, first just want to give some more love to our sponsors who make this podcast possible. So we mentioned NV Off-Road for hosting us. Also gave some love to our financial sponsors, Remax Gold, the Jesse James team, and Heartwood Wellness Ayurvedic Counseling. We just have such a great team of support. And not just them, our good friends, got to give them some love. B3 Glass as well. They support us through our Small Business Friday features that comes out once a week on Friday. So between B3 Glass, Heartwood, Jesse James, NV Off-Road, we just have such an amazing team of local businesses who help support us every single week. But we're always looking to add more people and more businesses to our team. So if you have a business in the Elko area and you've just been trying to think of more engaging ways to put yourself out there and get exposure and advertise, then maybe consider partnering with Anthony Around Town. Your logo could be right there just next week if you hit us up soon enough. Just reach out to us, anthonyaroundtown@gmail.com. It's actually funny, I was on Facebook today and somebody was posting on one of the Elko social sites asking who like the best photographer was to help take maternity pictures and stuff like that. And I've seen a lot of those pictures around, and I just thought in my head, you know what, if we had a sponsor that was a photographer, then on a weekly basis we'd be talking about who might be the best person to take your baby pictures or to take your graduation pictures and all that. But again, people are asking what's out there, and maybe people just aren't finding the information through other means. So maybe consider using digital media and videos and podcasts and live streams like this to get yourself out there, so people don't have to ask. They'll hear from us and they'll just know. So again, just reach out to us, anthonyaroundtown@gmail.com. That's anthonyaroundtown@gmail.com if you'd like to talk about sponsoring our content. All right, buddy. Well, that's going to get ready to wrap up this episode of the live stream. As usual, we're at 49 minutes, and we technically only talked about one blog. So
there's always stuff.
It's always deep around here. There's always stuff to talk about.
So it'll be fun.
So thank you for another good stream. Anything you need to throw out there before we get out of here?
Honestly, just check out that Patreon. That's a big one that I was personally working on, so I actually get to communicate all that to you. So if you want to see this lovely face as I, mess with Mike, check it out. There's some cool extra things that we want to do for you.
Is the Patreon page set up yet?
I'll have to get you the link and everything.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yep. So
we'll talk. Me and him will talk after this, and we'll just stay locked to the Facebook page. Like I said, Matthew shot a video next week breaking all this down. So once we get that edited, we'll get that up, and you guys can start checking that out. Hopefully soon. So thank you for handling all that, man.
Yeah, man.
That's really good. I think that's going to get ready to be it for us. Just got to go through my list of things for you guys to keep in mind. First thing to keep in mind is that we're just all over social media. Yep. So here, obviously, on Facebook, we also have an Instagram page. You have a YouTube channel. And Matthew wants to, let's see if we set up the camera enough for you guys to see it.
I don't think so.
That's fine. You can at least see the first three things. But all those places, all those logos you saw behind Matthew, you can just check us out. Basically, just search Anthony Around Town wherever you go, and you're going to find our stuff. Also, just want to let you know, remind you one more time, podcast had an episode come out last week on Matthew. It's good. We have one coming out this Thursday with Elizabeth. It's also, I haven't edited it yet, but I know it's going to be good because I was there. We had some good stuff that we're going to share. So just find our podcast. You can go to our main podcast hosting site, Anchor, to search anchor.fm/Anthony Around Town, or you can go to, again, all the other places, Spotify, iTunes, Google. There's a couple other random ones we're part of. I don't know, like Breaker. You ever heard of Breaker podcasts?
I have not.
I don't know. So we're there. Just search Anthony Around Town wherever. Email, if you need to get a hold of us, anthonyaroundtown@gmail.com. If there's something you want to throw out. If you want Matthew to actually start a nonprofit called Matthew and Elizabeth's House of Cats, you want to support him in doing that, then just let us know. Or you want to recommend somebody to be featured on a blog or do a video with us, whatever it is, anthonyaroundtown@gmail.com. Also, want to remind you that if you'd like to be part of our weekly newsletter, where I take all the links to the content that came out the week prior and put that into one nice little package so you have all of our stuff just right there in front of you at one time. Then all you have to do is go to our main page, anthonyaroundtown.com, and hit stay connected. Just give me your name, give me your email, and you'll be a part of that email list. That list is growing every single week. I think today I added another 7 to 10 people to that list. People not just from Elko, California. It's pretty. I'm still getting people from California. California loves our content, I guess, which is awesome.
It really is, honestly.
But yeah, every Monday I just send out that email, and you just have all the links. So you just got to click on what you want to read, or what you want to watch, or what you want to listen to, and it's all right there. So just head over to our main page, and you can do that. The last thing we're going to do before we bounce is just read this comment from Crystal. She says, "There's always a reason for everything and a reason for all things." I think that pretty much sums it up. I agree. So whatever you guys are going through, whatever your adventure is, we just hope that it just all ends well. And whatever it is, again, your boys, we have your back. Gotcha. We're just not a couple of semi-handsome faces on screen. We truly do care about you.
Ouch, man.
Well, semi, he didn't want to say? Okay, super handsome, semi-handsome guys on screen.
Wasn't he? I think we did a video where you got to be like a 9 or a 10.
Really?
Yeah, your beauty makeover one.
Oh, that's when I got made. That's when I got made over. Yes.
He went straight up to a 10.
This is all natural. All right, guys. I think that's going to do it. So
sounds good.
Until next time, I'm Anthony Crosby.
Catch you later.
See you around, Elko.